Hello everyone, welcome back and happy 2022 to you all. I am faculty Amarachi from CapacityBay and I will be your instructor for today's topic. In our previous class, in our previous section we tried out a project using just our HTML tags which we've been learning since last year, and I am so happy because today we are taking a step forward. In this section we will be talking about CSS. We will be talking about the cascading style sheet, and that is the next step to our journey of being a web developer. Now, if you think back to the 90s when web developers wanted to style up their website, making it look the way they wanted it to, like making the normal HTML documents they created to look fanciful, they always find it difficult. To showcase that, let's go straight up to one of the old HTML or old website that I found out, and this is it. This is toastytech.com, and this website was created back in the 90s. You can see they were actually trying to decorate or beautify this website, but then there is no how you can compare this to the magics we are having today. Take a look at this. There's no how you can actually compare what we have here to what we have here. And this, what you're seeing right here now, is our 90s web developer trying to make their website beautiful, but then the only problem was they were actually using just the HTML tag to do this. That is one beautiful thing about HTML, and that is why you should actually take it more serious. Of all the languages you might know, or of all the codes you might actually know, HTML is actually one that can actually make a website for you, but you can't actually use just CSS to build a website. So HTML is still very important, and you should know that. So let me go ahead and inspect this, so you will see part of how it was for them to actually create this. You can see, for them to give this a background, you can see what they did. You can see all the processes they followed to do this. Unlike what we are going to learn in this our CSS, you will see that it is much easier actually to do this. Now imagine to create this, now they have to do all this, the TDs, the TR, that is all they did in order to achieve this. But unlike what we are having here now, if I should inspect this, let me inspect this. All right, let's go ahead and check the styles. You can see this is it. This is what they have here. So it makes it a lot easier, and now we cannot differentiate our HTML from our CSS. Now this would actually take me back to what we have for today. Like I said earlier, we are going to be learning CSS, and like I mentioned, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. And now when we're talking about style sheet, I'm going to open up our VS Code right now. This is an HTML document file I have here already. Now when we're talking about CSS, of course we already know that this is a style sheet we are trying to create. We are trying to build some style, but then what do we really mean? What do we really mean by the cascading? When we say style sheet, it makes sense, but then what about the cascading? So when we are talking about style sheet being cascading, what it means is that the selector will actually always take the one that is beneath it. It will flow from the top to below. Now to demonstrate this, I'm going to open a website here. This is one of my the best programmers we know. So this is his website, and surprisingly, looking at this, he created most of them actually with HTML. But I'm going to do something. I'm going to also inspect Now this is what he has here on the style sheet. So you can see what we have here. I can just go ahead. Okay, I've already deleted this. I can just go ahead and give it back to him. These are the styles he had. Okay, now when we're talking about something being cascading, you notice this one. This is the default style he gave to his page, and that is the background color. He gave it this color, and then the text color itself, he gave it this. Now if I want to change, look at this, I'm going to on this background color again. Remember, here I have two background colors. I have the first one here and I'm having the second one here, but automatically the second one here overshadows the first one here. That is all what we mean by cascading. So when you hear cascading, this is what it means. It will always take the one beneath above to replace the one above, though we have some places where it doesn't work, and we'll definitely get to that later on in the class. But I just want you to understand what we mean by cascading style sheet. It comes from the top to the ground. So I'll go ahead and remove this. So let's take it back to his default setting. Now I'm going to go straight up into our VS Code, and then let's start up with what we have today. And to create a CSS file, you can see all I have here is HTML document. Now to create a CSS file, all you have to do is come here, in case if you are creating it still in the same file, but if you want, you can also create a folder and then put your style sheet inside it. But for this, I'm just going to name it here, and you can just call it style.css. Just like our HTML ends with .html, our style sheet also ends with a .css extension, and this is it. Now in style sheet we have some procedures or some rules guiding it. Now this is how it works. Our style sheet always have a selector. Now after a selector, it will have curly braces which you enter, and then it will have property, and then it will have a value. Sorry, after the property we are going to have this column, and then we have of the value, and then we have a semicolon. Sorry, this is actually how we create our CSS. This is actually how we create our CSS. Now trying to explain this rule, essentially the selector is basically just the who. Like the browser is asking, you are trying to say, okay, this is the person I want this to effect. I want these changes to effect on this selector. So the selector is basically you telling the browser who is it that you want to modify in your web page. Now let's say for here, now you can see these are my who. I have like h2 is my who. If I want to, let me open this up. So we are going to be working with it. So this is actually what I have on this web page. So I'm going to do it this way. So it's going to, well, we're going to be understanding it better. So basically my h2 now is my who. If I'm going to go to my CSS, now my h2 is going to be my selector, which is my who. I want my browser to effect these changes on my h2, which is my selector. The next one here is the property. The next one is the property, and this is the what. The browser here is asking, what exactly are you trying to change in this h2 that you are pointing to? What exactly are you trying to change? Maybe is it the background color? Do you want to change the background color? Do Do you want to change the text color, or is it even the position? That is what this property is doing. And then the last one we have is value, and the value answers the question of how. Like, how do you want to change the background color of this H2? Do you want it to be blue, or do you want it to be red? So right now we are going to do some real life experience of what I'm explaining. So I'm going to clear this off, and like I said, we are going to have our selector, which is, in this case, I want to use my H2, which I have here. It can actually be P also, but here I'm going to use my H2, which is my selector. I'm going to open my curly braces, enter it, and now the next thing is my property. Now let's say I want the background color. Yeah, you can see it has the colon, and then I'm going to input a value, and let's say I want the value to be blue. I want the value to be blue. But if you look, nothing is actually happening. You might have to ask yourself why. Okay, the thing is, this our document here is actually not connected to what we are having here. There's no how that the browser will actually know that this document and this style sheet is actually together. And the only way we do it is this. We are going to use, inside our head element, we are going to introduce something known as link. We are going to use this to link our CSS. Now you can see it's already defined here for us, and this is a kind of defining the relationship that this style sheet has. Now it's trying to say, okay, this style sheet is actually like a relationship between the, like you're trying to just introduce some kind of styles to this your HTML. That is what this relation is trying to talk about. And then the href is trying to link us to the already created style sheet. And for here now, we're already having style.css, so I'm just going to go ahead and input it here. You can see immediately I input the style.css, it's what I created here happened here immediately. Like the changes I want affected here immediately, because I put that I wanted the background color to change to blue, and it automatically does that for me. So that is one beauty of the style sheet. And to further explain the cascading that I mentioned before, if I should do another H2 here, and then go ahead and open my curly braces, and then I still do the background color, and now I don't want it to be blue, I want it to be brown. Automatically it changes. It will recognize this in place of this. So we have other selectors that we can use, like we have this P. I can go ahead and effect some changes on my P, and then I open the curly braces, and then I say I want the color to be okay, yeah, I want the color to be let's give it let me give it this. Yeah, you can see, okay, I don't think it's not really as bright as I would want it to be, so let me go with this yellow green. So you can see automatically it changes it. So this is what style sheet helps us to do. So as time goes on, we are going to introduce more of this, and we are going to go in depth into what CSS is all about. And by the time we are done with this class, you will actually be a professional web designer, designing the front pages of your website. And that will be all for this section. If you have any question, if you have more things you would want us to talk about, especially as we are starting this journey on CSS, please don't forget to drop that in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and also hit the bell notification icon to get notified whenever we drop a new video. See you in the next section. I'm excited. Bye.